What might be missing from many other approaches to stress management is this next of the four, what we call building a foundation of inner steadiness. You can change your lifestyle to be one that's more stable, that's more balanced. Right? You can learn to recognize the things that are more extreme in your daily life, right? And to cut back on things that are so extreme that they throw you out of balance. You can, through regular practice, right? And I would guess that this is something that all of you have experienced to some degree. Through your regular practice, you can build a kind of internal steadiness, right, that helps you be more resilient, right, when life is difficult. I can think of two analogies. One a little more commercial, one a little more natural. You have a bank account, right? If you don't have anything in your bank account, when you need extra money because the roof needs to be fixed, right? You got to borrow. Right? That's stressful. But if you have a if you have reserve, then you have something to draw on when you really need it. Right? So imagine that in a kind of very physical, mental way, that you have a reserve of balance, of steadiness, of even your immune system, right? In the world of Ayurveda, which I don't know that well, there's a term called ojas, meaning that you have a certain amount of stamina, right? A certain amount of juice, right? That you can make use of, that you can draw on. A more natural analogy that I think of is oftentimes when people practice meditation, they don't feel like there's that much happening, right? You know how it is when you sit there, the mind wanders, and you think, oh, wow, yeah, my mind was wandering the whole time. What good did that do? But if you practice regularly over a long period of time, you maybe get a little better at it, but you still have days when the mind wanders the whole time because you're worried about something and you have a hard time not thinking about it. The analogy that comes to mind when I think of this, when you plant a tree and you watch a tree grow, it's been interesting to watch the trees in this quad grow over the years, right? Mm-hmm. If you check every day, you can't see much different, right? But over time, the tree does grow, right? And maybe you notice now and then, oh, it seems a little bigger now, right, compared to the building it's next to. But what you don't see is what's happening underneath the surface, right? The growth of the roots. And isn't it the root system that needs to grow equally strong and deep in order to support the height of the tree? Right? Do you know that? You know what happens if the tree grows shallow roots along the surface? Right? You've seen those trees turned over in the forest, right? Because they haven't been able to, the roots haven't been able to go deep enough. Do you know what I mean? Have you ever seen that walking in the woods? Yeah, okay. So our yoga practice is a way of deepening our own roots of steadiness, right? Growing these kind of roots that will help us be more implacable in the daily storms of life, more resilient, more stable. Right? In other words, another analogy I think of, if you consciously practice a standing pose with a focal point and you really ground your stable foot as you lift the other one, you have a much better chance of remaining stable than if you simply try to practice on your tiptoe or without thinking about it and you're looking around. If you bend your knees with both feet on the ground, you have a pretty stable position. You can't be easily pushed over. So you've developed a sense of stability. In the same way, we can do that with our yoga practice. So that when we do encounter stress, which we can count on happening, we'll be more ready for it. Another analogy that comes to my mind is if you want to get good at anything, you have to practice. If you want to be able to be creative and mindful as you experience a stressful situation, you have to develop that ability, that mindfulness. One way to, perhaps one word that could be used is you build the capacity to be present in the moment, to have awareness in the moment. The more awareness that you have going into a stressful situation, the better chance you have to see what's happening around you, to see what's happening inside of you, and to then respond in a conscious way. Yeah, if you want to develop an inner stability, you need to practice it, much like you would practice the piano if you want to be a good piano player. If you want to have a mindful awareness of what's happening to you, if you want to realize that the room is getting hot, you have to be aware of your experience. And the more aware you are of your experience and of what's happening around you and the way you're reacting to it, the better you can be at choosing how to respond to it. You can catch yourself getting stressed out unnecessarily. Right? Did you ever have that experience? You see what you're doing to yourself and then realize it. Okay, let me shift gears. So this is building a foundation of inner steadiness. And this is something that students may not think of. And how might you encourage someone to develop this? A home practice. So this might not be something they would run into in just any kind of stress management workshop. Tools to develop a home practice to build their own kind of foundation or build their own ability to be more aware in the present during their daily lives. So that's something that we'll talk about, is encouraging students to develop a home practice. And I think an essential part of that I can't help mentioning right now, is to have the proper expectation of their practice. The thing that would be most discouraging for someone in developing home practice is to expect that their mind should be quiet when it isn't. And to think that they're doing it wrong, or they're not doing it well, they're getting it wrong, they're not able to do it. Right? Have you ever heard someone tell you, well, meditation doesn't work for me, or I can't do it, right? I'm not good at it. Well, nobody's good at it. That's not the point, to be good at it.